Hey guys, Redneck Mini 14 here, and today we're going to talk about two of my favorite series of pistols, the Ruger P series and the Smith and Wesson 59 series. Specifically, these are the Ruger P89 and the Smith and Wesson 5904. Let's do a quick safety check on both pistols before we get started. Okay, so both of these guns and the entire series of handguns actually are very similar in the way they operate. They're both double action, single action with a safety decocker. The P series had a couple of options where it was a safety decocker like this, or just a decocker, or even a double action only, which I don't really see a need for on a pistol this size. As far as I know, the Smith and Wesson 59 series only came in a safety decocker configuration. Now, other pistols in the kind of Smith and Wesson series of handguns, like the 10-06 and the 10 millimeter versions of this, they did have a frame. Some of them had a frame-mounted decocker. The whole series of handguns kind of had a couple of different configurations, and for the Smith and Wessons, the different designations for different calibers were 59 series was the 9 millimeter, and then there was the 4000 series, which was the 40 cal, and then the 4500, and then the 1000 was the 10 millimeter. So this came in four. Well, the Smith and Wesson pistols in this configuration came in four different calibers, and there were three different generations of the 59 series, which came off of the 39 series. The 39 was a single stack. The 59 was a double stack. So both of these are double stacks, by the way. The P series started out in the late 80s with the P85, which turned into the P89, and then it turned into other models after that. The P90 was a 45, the P91 was a 40. They look just like this. And then, of course, after that, you had the P93 and the P94 and P944, and it went all the way up to P97, which was another 45, and then a P345, which was another 45. It was kind of a hybrid between a P series and a SR series. It was kind of the transitioning pistol, if you want to call it that. The 5904, or the 59 series in general, had adjustable sights. There were a couple different options, I think, for adjustable sights. This one has the wings on it, and there's a screw here for windage, and then there's a screw here for elevation. So pretty user-friendly. The P series came with fixed sights. You could adjust them for windage. Just undo this little Allen screw here, and you can just tap it one way or the other. And so you could adjust it for windage, but not elevation. But you can change out these sights. You just pop out these little roll pins here, and again, tap this one out. The Smith and Wesson, this is a 5904. This is the third generation. The first generation was just called the 59, and then there was the second generation, which was like the 459 and the 559, 659. I don't know if there were any other ones besides that. The different numbers kind of, I think they categorize them in terms of like what materials they're made out of. So like the 5906 was an all stainless steel. This is the 5904, which is a blued slide with a aluminum frame, and then there was also the 5903, which was a stainless steel slide with an aluminum frame. And I don't remember if there were any other models in the third generation or not. But that's what the numbers stand for. Of course, with the P80 or the P series, the numbers stood for the year that they were designed, I think, or that they started to be designed. So like the P85 was designed in 1985, but it didn't come into production until like 1987. The P89 was designed in 89 and came into production in 90, and so on and so forth, until you got up to the P345, which I think just basically means that it's the third 45 in the P series of handguns. That's my best guess. And if I were to guess, the P either stands for police or pistol, because I think some of these were contracted out to police. I don't know exactly which models. I think maybe the P85 and the P95, maybe. I don't know. I think there were a couple different models that different police agencies use, though. Both guns come with a standard capacity of 15 rounds. We're talking about the 9mm, of course. With the P Series 40 cal, I think it was 10 or 11 rounds. And then with the 45s, it was 7 or 8 rounds. And then for the Smith and Wessons, of course, the 9 is 15. The 40 cal, I think, was either 11 or 12. And then there was the 10mm and the 45, which I guess are like 7, 8, 9 rounds. I'm not really sure on that. The Smith and Wessons, they have the mag release right here, and it's a push-in, and it does drop free. It is not ambidextrous, but it does have ambidextrous safety decockers, which is good. For the Ruger, you do have an ambidextrous magazine release. It slides forward instead of pushing in, and the magazine just drops out. This is a 10-round magazine. This is what came with my specific P89. But you can get 15-round factory mags, or you can get magazines like this. This is a 17-round Metgar magazine. Of course, I was only able to get 16 rounds into it. I don't know what that's about. Maybe the spring's a little stiff, or maybe it just wasn't built exactly to spec, but I could only get 16 rounds in it. And of course, you can get more. You can get up to like 20 and 30 round magazines for both of these pistols, I believe. So, and of course, you can get them from Metgar and Pro Mag and Triple K and some other magazine companies as well. But I tend to stick with either factory magazines or Metgar magazines, because Metgar makes really good magazines. Both pistols are fairly simple to take apart. The Ruger, I find, is the easier one to take apart. You just, of course, pull it back, drop your mag. You have to push down the ejector, like so. Drop your slide, and then pull back just a little bit, and then pull your slide off. Very, very simple. Of course, you just take your spring out, and that's all standard. So put this one back together, and let's see if I can actually get the Smith apart for this video. Oh, and of course, just to put a magazine in to put your ejector back up in the upright position. For the Smith, you have to pull the slide back, drop your magazine, and then the notch for the takedown is a little bit further forward, and you line it up with the with this part, not this part. So you got to push it back, and then you got to push your pin through. I've been able to do it better over the years, but okay. You have to decock your hammer, and then you got to push your safety lever back up and then slide it off. Now, to get it back on, this is where it kind of gets, well, again, it's a little bit harder to get the pin out on this one because you got to push it back further. But to put it back together, you have to slide it on, and then here, this is your ejector here. You got to push it out of the way. And then you also have these, I think, have to do with your safety and your magazine disconnect. So you have to push these out of the way as well. And it's not always the easiest thing to do. And just push them out of the way, and then pull your slide back to this position here, and drop it in. Back in business. The Smith, I just kind of said this, but the Smith and Wesson does have a magazine disconnect, so if the magazine is out, you cannot fire the pistol. The Ruger, on the other hand, does not have that, which I personally like. You can take your magazine out and you can pull the trigger and fire the gun all you want. So I prefer that. The Smith and Wesson put that on these guns, I think, because that was a police requirement. You know, you had to have a magazine disconnect, and these were contracted out to police forces. And you know, Ruger just didn't put that in their handguns, except for, I think, the P345 does have a magazine disconnect, and the P345 also has a loaded chamber indicator. So which those things were also translated over to the SR series of pistols, and so again, that was kind of the transitional model. Let's see what else. The P series, at least the early P series, had the lanyard loop right here. I don't know anybody who would ever actually use that. I've never actually seen anybody use that. What else? The P series, at least again the earlier P series, had a these grip panels right here. These are Packmeyers. I'm going to get some Ruger factory grips to put on here, but it does have a solid aluminum backstrap, which the third generation of the Smith and Wessons did not have that. This is all this grip here is all one piece, and there is no backstrap. I think you punch this little pin right here out, and then that is how you get the grip off. I've never actually messed with that, and I don't really plan on messing with that. But yeah, Smith and Wessons either come with aluminum frames like this, or stainless steel, or I think some of them, like the older ones, came with some blued steel frames. I'm not really familiar with the older models of the 59 series. The P series came with, this is an aluminum frame, and the later models like the P95, P97, P345 came with a polymer frame, or a glass-filled nylon, I think is what they call it. Not exactly sure, but I think that's what they call it. The Smith & Wesson, I think all of them, as far as I know, came with a 4-inch barrel. Some of the other calibers, like the 10mm and the 45, might have had options for a longer barrel. The P89 has a 4.5-inch barrel, but some of the later models came with like 4-inch barrels, 4.2, 3.9, depending on which model it was. But the earlier ones, the P85, P89, P90, P91, all came with this longer 4.5-inch barrel, which I kind of like. Get a little bit extra barrel length, a little bit extra sight radius, and I guess we'll do just a quick size comparison. The P89 is definitely a bigger gun. It's chunkier, pretty much in all dimensions. A little bit longer in the slide, and yeah. Personally, and this is just me, I prefer the P series. This is what I originally wanted to be my first handgun, but I ended up getting this, which this is also a good handgun. I really was not familiar with the Smith and Wessons when I bought this, but I did figure out that it was a pretty good deal that I got. $250 for this handgun. Usually these go for like $300-400, depending on the model. And but I do prefer the P series to the Smith and Wessons, just because I'm kind of biased towards Ruger, and it is a chunkier gun, but it's built like a tank. Not that these aren't built like tanks, but I think this gun here would last longer than this gun here. But I don't really know. I've only put 50 rounds through this so far because I just got this, and 250 through this. Again, both guns were used, but so far both guns have been flawless with all kinds of ammunition that I've put through it. And yeah, and I plan on having these for a long time. I don't plan on selling either one of them. So anyway, that's the Ruger P series versus the Smith and Wesson 59 series. I don't know if I missed anything that I wanted to say, but that's all I'm going to say about this. So subscribe to my channel, like me on Facebook. I'm Redneck Mini 14, and until next time, be safe.